Good morning. Hello and welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests here in person and virtually. My name is Andy Eaton. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. With respect for the rights and wisdom of indigenous people, we acknowledge our harmful colonial histories and commit to decolonizing our own practices, to learning new ways of being in community, in good relationship with the indigenous people of this land and with the land itself. Today's service is led by the Reverend Rebecca Bijour with music by music directors Anita Robles and the Neighborhood Choir. Reverend Bijour is raising 3 children with her husband in Santa Monica, California. She serves as community minister for the Emerson UU Church of Canoga Park and works with St. Joseph Center in Venice to advance social and economic equity for people experiencing homelessness. She grew up in Japan, India, and suburban Maryland. I'm not sure what that means, but since I grew up part of the time in suburban Maryland too, I guess it's foreign territory. She's a graduate of Yale and Harvard Divinity School and has served UU congregations and multi-faith social justice communities in LA since 2010, which is when I first heard her here at Neighborhood. She's a frequent guest preacher at other pulpits across Southern California and of course has been here many times. We're glad to have her back again. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Thank you for joining us as we continue to prioritize connection over perfection in this hybrid service, which is streamed and recorded on YouTube. Our COVID team continues to monitor the latest changes in conditions. Masks are encouraged indoors and optional outdoors. Families with young children are welcome in the sanctuary, the narthex, or our family lounge located in the living room of Neighborhood House, where the service is live streamed on a big screen. The lounge is staffed by a host to help you feel at home. Today is Yule Log Sunday. Please stop by the table after the service to purchase one or more. There are plenty there. You can also sign up today on the patio for the financial literacy class being given starting in mid-January. Next Sunday, take advantage of gift wrapping being offered by one of our chalice circles. And here to speak briefly about Dining for Dollars is Martin Matthews. Martin.
Thanks, Andy. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Martin Matthews, and I am your new Dining for Dollars Committee Chair for 2023. Thank you very much. Today we're launching the annual Dining for Dollars campaign. On this Thanksgiving season, I am particularly thankful for the wonderful community and friends that my family and I have enjoyed here at Neighborhood for almost 20 years. Why do I think that fundraising for Neighborhood is important? Well, I guess for me, I'm here for Neighborhood because Neighborhood is here for me, always giving me a place to share my stories, to learn about people, and to make the kinds of connections that week by week, month by month, turn the days of my life into an enriching and fulfilling story. I feel compelled to be here for Neighborhood because it gives me so much. Giving something back to this place seems well right and good. If you're not aware of this program, here's a short primer on Dining for Dollars. Dining for Dollars is an annual fundraising campaign during which members offer up their services and expertise to support the church. These can be social events, dinner parties, family or children-centered events, almost anything you can think of. House concerts, a tour somewhere special, a guided hike with some craft beer at the end of it. Maybe you can teach people a special skill or offer a professional service or consultation. You might have a vacation home to lend or season tickets to sports, theater, or the symphony to offer. In the Dining for Dollars world, the possibilities are endless, and the proceeds all go to support Neighborhood, a truly worthy cause. Some folks co-host events with friends to share the host expenses, and we're always looking for new types of services and events and items that can be offered. After events and services are dreamt up by you, A catalog is posted online and printed, and near the end of January, the Dining for Dollars Committee will be setting up tables where you can bid certain amounts of money to attend a Dining for Dollars event. Some events are competitively bid upon. Some are more just like a flat fee. For some events, the competition to sign up for available spots can be fierce and, frankly, pretty un-Unitarian. If you are a veteran Dining for Dollars donor, thank you for hosting. If you're a participant in the events, thanks for participating. If you never hosted an event before, I invite you to dream up something that you feel excited about and go for it. The committee and I are here to help with suggestions and advice. Plan your event to take place sometime during 2023. I have some forms to hand out outside, and there are links and QR codes on the forms to help you submit your event online. The church website and the church newsletter are also easy places to find the Dining for Dollars links. The deadline for listing your events this year is December 28th. If you are not donating an event or an item this year, I look forward to your support as a bidding participant in late January. Once again, my name is Martin Matthews, and I'm here for Neighborhood because Neighborhood is always here for me. Thank you.
Our order of service and more extensive announcements are available as a link in the Sunday email posted in Narthex or through the QR code on the back of your hymnal. You can always get more information on these and many other activities at the welcome table. Again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Welcome to this inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service.
The words of our chalice lighting are from the soul activist and grief teacher Frances Weller. We were not meant to live shallow lives, pocked by meaningless routines and the secondary satisfactions of happy hour. We are the inheritors of an amazing lineage, rippling with memories of life lived intimately with bison and gazelle, raven, and the night sky. We are designed to encounter this life with amazement and wonder, not resignation and endurance. This is at the very heart of our grief and our sorrow, the dream of full-throated living. Woven into our very being, has often been forgotten and neglected, replaced by a societal fiction of productivity and material gain. No wonder we seek distractions. Every sorrow we carry extends from the absence of what we require to stay engaged in this one wild and precious life. We were not meant to live shallow lives.
Hello, please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn. It's number 51, and your gray hymnals are on the screens above you. Please join me in singing Lady of the Seasons Laughter.
Good morning. I'm Director of Religious Education, Matt Vasco, and before I get to our story for all ages, I have a quick announcement. Do you ever feel like the name religious education sounds like something from the 1950s and wish that the RE program would just get with the times? Well, then you're in luck. the religious education program is considering changing its name to Spiritual Exploration. After all, this program is largely about helping children, youth, and adults along their spiritual journeys. And if you're a child, doesn't exploration sound a lot more fun than education? No one wants to go to school on Sundays. How do you feel about this proposed change? We want to hear from you. Speak to me, Matt Vasco, at the religious education table on the patio after service, or find one of the members of the Lifespan Religious Education Committee. Committee members include Terry Hopper, Brett Pazel, Louisa Villeneuve, Louise Hamlin, Larry Sparks, and Lisa Benson. Thank you. And now, may we have all of the children and youth forward for a story for all ages, please. Hi, kids. It's Yule Log Sunday. Isn't that awesome? You guys all get to make Yule logs today, a little bit later on. It's going to be great. Some of the kids who were here earlier and already made Yule logs, and they look amazing. And yours will too, I promise. 35 years we've been making Yule logs at Neighborhood Church. Wow. Lovely tradition, lovely tradition. So, December, our worship theme is wonder. And today, we are fortunate to have Rebecca, Reverend Rebecca. So there was this cash, you know, it's all cool. We are so lucky to have Reverend Rebecca back with us. You know, she was our short-term minister when Reverend Lissa was out on maternity leave, parental leave years ago. So it's just a real joy to have Reverend Rebecca back with us. And her worship theme today is on the future. So I found this wonderful book that merges the future and wonder together. And you're going to see in just a minute. It's called Star Stuff, Carl Sagan and the Mysteries of the Cosmos. Ooh. By Stephanie Roth Sisson. In the Milky Way galaxy. That's where we are. In a neighborhood of stars, there's our sun. On the third planet from our sun, there's Earth. In a big city, Brooklyn, New York, in a small apartment, lived a boy named Carl. Yes, even Carl Sagan was a child at one time. It's amazing. Carl was curious about everything. He found the world around him astonishing. Do you ever feel like that? Like the world is just so amazing. His imagination took him out of his neighborhood. And then on the radio here, we hear this. Announcing the 1939 World's Fair. Come and see the world of tomorrow. Yeah, the future. The World's Fair was like nothing Carl had ever seen before. Wowee, he says. There was a mechanical man. There was a time capsule filled with messages for the future. This is so cool. Look at this. The book completely opens up. If I can do this right. There's a flap. Nope. Maybe it's not there yet. Okay. Carl thought about the stars hanging down like light bulbs on long black wires. What are they, he thought. Oh, here it is. See, okay. Woo, okay. Carl read that many scientists suspected that other stars have planets circling them too. Our sun is a big ball of fiery gas held together by gravity. 9 planets, including Earth, orbiting around our solar system. It's actually only 8. We know that now. Each star, yes, R.I.P. Pluto. Each, I know it still hurts. Each star is a sun. If you traveled into space for many years and then looked back at our sun, it would look like a dim star. Wowee, thought Carl. Carl was curious. He imagined what we would find if we traveled to those distant stars. There's lots of pictures here of him imagining what that might be like. And he writes this. He writes United Earth, Planetary and Intergalactic Space Exploration Association. Pretty cool, huh? He read stories written by people who imagined what life might be like on other planets. His favorite character, John Carter, could stand with his arms outstretched and wish himself to Mars. But nothing happened. Carl set out to learn more. He studied life and space and became Dr. Carl Sagan. Carl longed to know what other planets were really like. He worked with other scientists to send mechanical explorers to investigate the planets close to us. So here we see Mariner 9, Pioneer 10, Mariner 2, Viking on Mars. They took pictures and gathered data and sent them back to Earth. It gave Carl goosebumps to think about what he had learned about the stars and planets and the beginnings of life. He wanted everyone to understand so that they could feel like a part of the stars as he did. So he went on television. And here's Dr. Carl Sagan on television saying, "The very smallest matter that makes us up was generated long ago and far away in giant red stars." And then everybody else is saying, "Wowee, that's pretty cool." The earth and every living thing are made of star stuff. The stars made the ingredients of life. Could those ingredients have reached other planets and turned into life elsewhere too? Carl and his fellow scientists got ready to launch the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 spacecraft on a grand tour of the outer solar system to gather more pictures and data. After that, they would be bound for the stars. A marvelous idea gripped Carl. A Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. A message from our world could be attached to each spaceship like a time capsule and taken beyond our stars. We thought it would be impossible not to say hello. And it's got bird sounds and nature sounds and greetings from all around the world, music and heartbeats and pictures. The twin Voyagers rocketed to space carrying their friendly greeting. They traveled through our solar system and continued farther than any other spaceship had ever gone. A curious man made of star stuff launched a spacecraft on an adventure to explore beyond our neighborhood of planets. As the Voyagers continue their journey into interstellar space, they've now gone beyond our solar system. They are carried by the imagination of a boy named Carl. And here's Voyager saying, "Wowee." The end. It's fascinating to think of the fact that Dr. Carl Sagan passed away before we had received confirmation that there are, in fact, exoplanets, planets outside our solar system. And now, with the James Webb Space Telescope, we're getting amazing images from way, way out in space and seeing for the first time some of these distant planets and distant solar systems. And who knows? Maybe there's life just like ours out there on one of those other planets. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, makes you wonder. Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. Let's sing the kids out to their youth religious education classes. Or should we say?
Giving is a spiritual practice through which we put our values into action. Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of contributions to a local social justice organization or activity. If you're visiting for the first or second time, welcome. You're our guest. Please let the plate pass you by. In addition to the plate, online giving is available using the QR code on the donations box outside the sanctuary or using the text shown on the screen. If you're a member and wish to make a payment toward your pledge, or a non-pledging member and wish to make a gift, make a note in the subject line or use an envelope available at the donation box. All recipients are identified by church members. To recommend an organization, fill out the application in the Social Justice tab of the church website, or ask a board member to connect you with the Share the Plate Committee. Speaking of which, the Share the Plate Committee is always looking for new members. If you're interested, please see me after the service. The offertory today will go to Planned Parenthood Pasadena and San Gabriel Valley. Here to speak on their behalf is Paige Hart. Paige has been on the development team at Planned Parenthood Pasadena for just under 4 years. She currently serves as the Events and Community Specialist, planning fundraisers and striving to engage the community with Planned Parenthood in meaningful ways. Paige.
Hi. My name's Paige, and I'm the Events and Community Specialist at Planned Parenthood Pasadena and San Gabriel Valley. Firstly, thank you so much for having me. Now more than ever, it means so much to us to know that at least some of the religious community has our back. You've been incredibly supportive of your local Planned Parenthood in the past, and I hope to help you continue to do so. For those of you who don't know, Planned Parenthood Pasadena and San Gabriel Valley is your local Planned Parenthood affiliate. Our mission is that we are essential healthcare providers and trusted educators who center our work on sexual and reproductive care and advocate for all people to live authentic and healthy lives. I also wanted to take a moment to point out our newly rewritten core values. We are courageous. We stand for abortion no matter what. We are proud. We are a safe haven for all sexual identities and gender identities. We are responsive. We provide high quality and affordable health care to all. We are compassionate. We engage with positivity, respect, and confidentiality. We are dedicated. We practice allyship in the movement for social justice. And lastly, we are innovative. We evolve by listening, learning, and adapting. As opposed to our national organization, we are the ones on the ground providing expert, compassionate, and non-judgmental sexual and reproductive health care. PPP SGV currently operates 5 health centers serving 24 communities from Glendale to Glendora with ambitions to expand beyond. As you all know, Planned Parenthood and the rest of the country are facing a public health crisis with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. I'm incredibly grateful to the government and the voters of California for passing Prop 1, which codifies the right to abortion in our state constitution. However, we cannot stop there. Yes, the right to abortion is protected in California, and if you're wondering why it is still important to support your local abortion provider, let me tell you what we have been doing in the months leading up to and following the moment our federal right to abortion was stripped from us. We have been preparing for an influx of out-of-state patients seeking abortion in California by opening new health centers, increasing our in-clinic and medication abortion capacity, training key staff, expanding the gestational limit, and staffing our case management team with an abortion navigator to help patients circumnavigate barriers to care. Some examples of these initiatives include increasing in-clinic abortion capacity at our flagship health center in Pasadena and Baldwin Park by training more advanced practice clinicians in first-time abortions, increasing medication abortion capacity at all 5 of our health centers, hiring an abortion navigator to coordinate care for both in-state and out-of-state patients, to assist patients with overcoming barriers to care, including cost of abortion, transportation, housing, childcare, and other pervasive challenges. Raising funding to support our charity care, which ensures that no patient will be turned away from abortion due to cost. Increasing our gestational limit. Launching no-touch medication abortion via telehealth for in-state patients so that we can open up the clinic appointments to more patients traveling across state lines. And these expansion efforts will be complemented by a far-reaching abortion destigmatization campaign, which is currently being conducted by our public affairs, communications, and community education departments. The rest of the United States looks up to California as a beacon of hope in our sexual and reproductive rights. That is why it is our duty to be there for hundreds of patients traveling across state lines to get the basic health care that they need. So, how can you help? Perhaps the 2 most impactful things you can do today are destigmatize and donate. Firstly, talk about abortion. Talk about it with like-minded folks. Talk about it with those who identify as anti-abortion. Making abortion part of normal conversation will help to battle the deep stigmatization we are up against. Tell your story if you have one, or get armed with facts so that you can confidently speak up. Small culture shifts like these can go a very long way in changing the way our nation views basic health care. Secondly, California Planned Parenthoods have a lot coming our way, and we need the resources and staff to be able to accommodate the ever-increasing patient volume. Thank you so much for listening, and I was around for the other service too, but if you have any questions, please come say hello. Much love to you all, and happy holidays. Thank you.
Will the ushers please come forward?
Today's anthems are designed to sort of get us into the holiday spirit. Cesario's going to tell us a little bit about our first anthem.
Our first one is an arrangement of a traditional Puerto Rican Christmas song, Alegría, 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 or Joy, Joy, Joy. And a brief translation of the first verse, Mary goes walking with her husband towards Bethlehem, carrying in her company the power of God for everybody. Joy, joy, and pleasure that the Virgin is going with her husband to Bethlehem. Hacia Belén se encaminan María con su amante esposo, llevando en su compañía un Dios poderoso. Alegría, 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 alegría y placer.
Virgen va de paso con su esposo hacia Belén. Alegría, 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 alegría y placer, que la Virgen va de paso con su esposo hacia Belén.
Such a pleasure to be with you all today. You'll hear me say it every time I get to speak, but especially to receive the gift of your musicians. Our prayer is by the poet Alberto Rios. One river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and again. Giving is first and every time hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together, we made something greater from the difference. Please join me in a time of silence. I'll conclude our silence with a short prayer. Great lover of silence, you who have not failed us yet, help us meet this day with generosity. Help us give what we have to give and receive what others have given us so that we may make something greater from the difference. Amen.
Hark, how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, ding dong, that is the song. Ring, jungle, ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, I'm praising the song. Ding, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Ding dong, that is the song. With joyful ring, all caroling. On, on, send on with thunder, ding, jungle, tongue, to every home. Hark, how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is their song. Ding, joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, I'm praising the song. While people sing songs of good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding dong, that is the song. With joyful ring, all caroling. On they send, on without end, their joyful tone to every home. On they send, on without end, their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong,
I want to thank Reverend Teresa for extending the invitation, the unexpected invitation to be with you all this morning. I understand she's a little frustrated that she has not healed herself entirely, and she's looking forward to being with you. I also heard a rumor that she is actually responding to email extremely quickly. Perhaps because she needs to give her body time to heal, and so she's looking for other things to do. So, if you haven't emailed her, go ahead. Don't tell her I said that, though. Mischief. There's always mischief when I'm with Neighborhood. It's so good to be with you all. I think some of you will remember I was here about a year ago. I'm assuming you did take down the Christmas decorations in the interim. But to me, it just always looks festive here. And I'm really glad to be with you again in this season, on this day, which is made new. The season of Advent is one of holy waiting. I have 3 children. They're not as young as they used to be, but holy waiting is just not how we would usually describe it. And yet, love is on the way and with us. Always with us and always on the way. There's so many ways for us to be afraid of what the future holds. And in this season, they say to us, do not be afraid. And that's what I want to talk with you about today. When we open our hearts to the world, to our neighbors, to our own inner voices, how can we not hear all that is most uncertain and fearful about our lives? How can we not hear the sorrows of our world, the deep well of loneliness, the cries of despair? How can we not feel the weight on our shoulders? And we breathe in that ache. We hold it with us today. And we know that is not the only sound singing in these days. We know that is not the only way to see the future, which is why so many of us are compelled to return again and again to an alternative view, to a revolutionary teaching, to the subversive voices, those voices from elsewhere that are telling us a story about what is powerful and possible about the future, about what is on its way in this season of our lives together. And I have to tell you, Neighborhood Church, I am not alone, and you are not alone in listening and amplifying this teaching. Far from it. Just in the past few months and days and weeks, so many teachers and artists and leaders and thinkers have been arguing for a positive uncertainty to our future. I hope some of you listened to the journalist and activist Rebecca Solnit and her teachings. This summer, she wrote extensively on her Facebook page about how wildly unimaginable our world is today from what the people of the recent past thought was possible. I've also been learning from the spiritual teacher and stage magician, Nicole Cardoza, who teaches about radical imagination, a liberative, disruptive, powerful practice for social and personal change. And then, of course, this week, even the LA Times was on it. They published an opinion essay from Seth Gillihan, a therapist who supports patients not only in grappling with worst-case scenario thinking about the future, but also in realizing that we can find joy and acceptance even in the moments when life does not go the way we wanted it to. Each of these voices, each of these teachers is advancing the position that the way it is now is not the way it will always be, that tomorrow will not look like today, and that shocking changes are in fact the norm, not the exception. The futurist Jane McGonigal, whose work I'll be touching on this morning, has pointed out how deeply our brains prefer stable patterns. this leads to that, again and again, in a way that makes it easier for us to plan and to act. Psychologists even have a name for this kind of brain preference. They call it normalcy bias. And it's defined as the refusal to plan for or react quickly to a disaster that has never happened before. We just don't expect it to happen. It's never happened before. We think it won't happen again. But things happen every day that have never happened before. In fact, McGonigal writes, history is made up of nothing but an endless series of shocking things happening for the first time. Shocking scientific discoveries, shocking technological advances, shocking social progress, shocking reforms, shocking natural disasters, shocking violence, shocking government actions, shocking economic collapse. If anything, she writes, human brains should have a shock bias rather than a normalcy bias. Now, this has always been the case, but I find it particularly convincing in these times. Shocking elections, shocking pandemics, shocking soccer matches, maybe not that shocking. But truly, a friend of mine turned to me recently and said, I am so looking forward to living in precedented times. If there was ever a moment when we could develop a shock bias, I think this would be it. I think this is the time to practice that willingness to plan for things that have never happened yet, but are going to happen tomorrow. Because the uncertainty of the future has a power to it, that power of possibility and change, the power we have to make it different. If we listen, we can hear that future sighing and singing. The darkness of tomorrow truly nurtures a promise. What if we could learn to hear it more clearly? And so I listen to these reporters and poets and activists and magicians who tell us a story about the future that is not only about the dangers and fears it holds for us, but also about what is possible still. As I said earlier, Jane McGonigal is a futurist. She recently published a book called Imaginable. I know we have a couple readers with us this morning. Has anyone else picked up a copy of Imaginable? All right, well, it's a quick read, and I hope you can pick it up. She has a lot of interesting things to say about the future. And like I said, she's a futurist, so she works with students in lots of different contexts to help us prepare for what is coming next. And she especially encourages us to put our worrying minds, our anxious minds, into a larger framework, to create what she calls a more balanced mindset between our hopes and our fears for the future. In order to do this, she recommends a framework that distinguishes between what she calls our positive imagination and our shadow imagination. She explains that positive imagination asks the question, what is something good that could happen? Positive imagination builds confidence that the future will be better. And shadow imagination asks the question, what's something bad that could happen? And it builds our readiness to face future challenges. Now, right now, you may find that your imagination muscles are stronger on one side or the other of these mindsets. In my family, my husband is the person who holds our shadow imagination. Many years ago, he found that he was reviewing a sense of existential worries so often that he actually made flashcards. He really did this. That listed all of those worries so he could organize them and handle them almost like, like Unitarian Universalist prayer beads. As I recall, these cards included fears both grand and intimate, terrorism, cancer. He did include the heat death of the universe, which is a real thing. And he actually included a global pandemic. And this is why I have to salute my husband and his shadow imagination muscles, because indeed it was him in February of 2020 who purchased our toilet paper. He was ready in a way that I was not. He moved quickly to face this challenge. And I did make fun of him at the time and to this day, but it's a real thing. It's a real thing. My husband has developed his shadow imagination. He sprung that normalcy bias trap. He did not deny reality, and he recognized the need to act quickly to make changes in our lives. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that I am the one in our family who is more comfortable with the positive imagination side of things, that vision and dreaming that undergird my conviction that something better is possible for us and for our world. After all, there was a moment in the not-too-distant past when a group of visionaries and activists, people who look a lot like the people who are here today, used their positive imaginations to begin to build the world that we live in right now. A world in which the price of generating energy from the wind as it blows and the sun as it shines has fallen by 80% in the past 10 years. And all of the things we need to deliver that energy have also been put in place, so much so that on a day last May, California produced over 100% of the energy we needed from renewable sources. Yeah? People who dreamed and built a world today where a space telescope, more than a decade in the planning and engineering, has at last turned its lenses and the lenses of our own seeing to the vastness of our cosmos, delivering stunning images and surprising data that may answer some of the most profound questions we've ever asked about the life and death of stars and our own place in the universe. A world in which people hold on to a voice in the decisions that concern them, where we continue to count every vote freely and fairly, even in the great state of Georgia, whose people are headed to the polls again this week, and we bless them in their choices, which affect all of us. Now, it's not all positive imagination, but so much of it is, and that hope, like the beautiful rain that is watering our thirsty land, nourishes the ordinary activists and leaders and organizers who are calling our world forward toward the best examples of what is possible every day. There are so many examples. It has been an unimaginable, unprecedented, unpredictable year and season and week and month. Another one, I mean. In many ways, McGonigal is an imagination trainer. And like other coaches and trainers you may have worked with, she doesn't want you to neglect your non-dominant side. For my husband, that means he needs to work on his positive imagination so he can seize what she calls opportunities for optimism. For me, that means deeply considering the risks that it does make sense to worry about. And because McGonigal is an imagination trainer, I don't think she would mind if I gave her an even wider field of play. You see, this model is binary. It's either positive or shadow, and that just can't be everything, not when it comes to something as wild and wide as imagination. In fact, I know it's not everything. Because, as I mentioned earlier this fall, I got to be a student of Nicole Cardoza, who's a stage magician and a spiritual teacher that's based in Los Angeles. I just love that phrase. She was teaching a workshop about radical imagination. And in her teaching, she talked about how radical imagination has the power to disrupt expectations and to shift our behavior by creating acts and expressions of wonder and dreaming and joy and awe and magic. When I think of what this teaching about radical imagination could offer to McGonigal's assessment, I wonder if it could open up space for the parts of us and our communities that just don't fit neatly into this or that. For what is queer and non-binary and non-conforming and blended about the acts of creativity that disrupt even the categories into which we assign what is possible? These acts of imagination will not fit neatly into positive, shadow, good, bad, accomplishment, challenge. In fact, it reminds me of a memorably creative character in a science fiction story I once read, who was served eggs for breakfast day after day. And each morning she would open the egg yolk as if something different was going to be inside. She asked, why is it always eggs inside the eggshell? Why is it never Wednesday or regret? Some acts of imagination, some acts of creativity and healing and justice will not fit into our predetermined categories. They won't fit at all. So instead of saying that today will be like tomorrow, Cardoza invites her students to ask, what don't I know about tomorrow? What don't we know about tomorrow? Like McGonagall, Cardoza teaches that radical imagination is a discipline and a practice. It's a way of engaging with the future that won't happen on its own. It depends on people like us and times like these when we gather for reflection and sustenance, for stories that remind us of ourselves and stories that remind us of how much larger the world must be than what we have known or lost or survived or loved yet. The poet tells us, we often tell our students, the future is in your hands, but I think the future is actually in your mouth. You have to articulate the world you want to live in first. At the close of the workshop with Nicole Cardoza, she asked us to find an object within reach and imagine how the object could be different. And then something magical happened. Suddenly in the workshop, a shell became a way of thinking about homelessness differently. What if tomorrow, instead of people going to their homes, homes traveled with people, the way a snail carries their home with them? The ink of a pen was used for finger paints, a tomato was imagined as bioluminescent, and a piece of tape was suddenly its opposite, a tiny tool that could eliminate friction and allow objects to move past one another more smoothly. When I saw all of my workshop participants doing all of these creative, imaginative things, I wasn't quite sure I could keep up. And I don't share these stories with you to make you feel like you need to suddenly do something creative and different. Although I am wondering what we could do with a glass of water or a poinsettia or an afternoon. But as my time comes with you to a close, I'm wondering what opportunities you will find in the next hour and the next day and the next year in which to strengthen your imagination muscles, to strengthen them with practice and dreaming and wondering and magic, so that you can stretch your positive imagination and build a better future, so that you can strengthen your shadow imagination to be ready for the challenges we know we are facing, so that you can grow into the deepest roots of your radical imagination, so that we together can disrupt and be playful, be curious and open to what is wildly unimaginable, totally impossible, and already here. May we be the ones to make it so.
Our closing hymn is number 128 in your gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing For All That Is Our Life.
For all
When you leave this place, encounter your life with amazement and wonder. Imagine the world not as it is today, but as it will be tomorrow. And support others who show us the way again and again. Stay engaged in this one wild and precious life. We were not meant to live shallow lives.